Hi guys, and welcome to another video on my channel of Colby & Co. So my name's Amy and I'm going to tell you today some facts about keeping axolotls, okay? So this is Preddie. This is my absolute wonder baby. She turned 5 on the 16th of January and I've brought her up from an egg. She's very, very, very reactive to people, to attention, to cameras. She loves the camera, as you can see. Don't chill, you're a beautiful girl. So as you can see, now I have been asked quite a bit on my Facebook groups and my Facebook pages, how do I keep an axolotl? What are their requirements? You know, and axolotls are amazing animals to keep. They're great for absolute aquatic lovers. They aren't what people would class as boring, by no means. As you can see, she is very reactive. If we go down again, she'll react to the camera. Apologies for the focus on that. But Preddie is gorgeous. Preddie is a wild type axolotl. Preddie is about, I think she was 8.5, 9 inches long last time that I measured her. Now the reason that Preddie is in the bog standard littler tank, the bog standard size for an axolotl tank is 2 foot for one axolotl, and then an added foot for each one you want to put in. Now, of course, it is common sense as such that you do not put male and female together because they will breed, and axolotls do have quite a lot of eggs at any one time. We're talking hundreds, and bringing larvae up is very, very difficult. If you haven't got the baby brine shrimp and you haven't got the Daphnia and you haven't got no access to other sources of Daphnia or baby brine shrimp, the fact that they only respond to live food when they're a baby, it's hard, because if you don't have that extra supply, you either have to make it move, and if they don't take to it, you might end up with a few dead babies. So it is hard. It's heartbreaking as well, because some just naturally die as you go through the stages, and it's not anything you've done, it's just natural cause. So it is quite hard. Now, so as I was saying, the bog standard tank for an axolotl, for one axolotl, is 2 foot long, okay? And then an added foot for each one afterwards. This is a 2 foot long tank. Preddie was upgraded to a bigger tank. Preddie did not like it. She's always been in a 2 foot tank apart from about a year ago. So she's 5 now. So, you know, for 3 years, she was in a 2 foot tank. We then moved her up, and she didn't like it. She was literally just sat there the whole time, did not move, didn't even respond to people. And as you can see, Preddie is very responsive. So she did not like it whatsoever. And at one point, she just went off her food. So we've gone through everything, knowing she didn't have fungus or anything like that. You know, we did move her back into the 2 foot tank, and she is absolutely fine again. So you've got to be careful with what you do. Sometimes it is a bit crazy because you'd think they'd like the bigger space, but actually Preddie didn't like it at all. So she likes her smaller confined spaces. So she is in a 2 foot that she likes to redecorate herself. These plants were not like this. These plants were literally in a nice, what I would class as nice, and Preddie just doesn't think it's nice at all. So Preddie likes to just rearrange it. So, of course, same with many other animals, a hide is a very good thing to have. Not that Preddie ever uses it. Preddie likes to be out and responsive to people, as you can see. She loves the camera. So she literally likes being out, or she'll sit behind it, but she won't go through it most of the time. Unless there's a worm about, then she'll go through it. So this is Preddie's general setup. Now, for an axolotl, you want to be looking at temperatures between the ranges of 15 degrees Celsius and 24 degrees Celsius. Now, if it goes any higher than that, you need to get some frozen bottles, or you need to get some tank fans and things like that to cool the water down, because anything over 25 degrees can actually start bringing up different diseases and funguses and things like that. So we don't want that for our axes whatsoever. So that's the temperature, that's the base of the tank. Now, you do not want to have anything that can fit in their mouth. Sand is okay, very fine sand or very plain sand, that's absolutely fine. Obviously, you need to wash it through and things. Apologies for the focus on the camera. The camera's been a bit of a donut. That's absolutely fine. But when it comes to actual substrate stones and things that you can use for fish, please do not use them. Now, this can cause impaction, which will end up killing your axolotls. So we rescued 2 axolotls which were on stones, and they were too far gone. They were pooping out stones for weeks and they still had some in them, to the point it stopped them from eating. We took them to the vets and there was nothing we could have done. So please do not put your axolotls on stones or anything that could fit in their mouth, even large pebbles. Please do not do it, or the glass decorative pebbles I see a lot of people use. Please do not do that. The way that they eat is they hoover it up. If you see the video before with Preddie eating, they hoover it up. So when they suck things in, the stones can go in there as well and it can kill them. Just point blank can kill them. She's watching the 2 goldfish on the other side. So yeah, please, when it comes to substrates, either bare bottom, you can get some fake aquatic grass, or you can get some slate, or you can have some sand, some very fine play-in sand or fine aquatic sand. But please do not use the gravel. It's not good for them at all, and it's not good for their health, or the fact that your water will get completely disrupted as well. So, of course, water changes are once a week. As many other aquatic species are, they are still once a week, as they are living in the water, of course. So you need to change the water once a week. You also need to have the tap safe. You can get aquasafe. So things that take all the chemicals, the bad chemicals and the chlorine out of the water. The reason for this is because it burns their skin and it's not good for them at all. They cannot just go in tap water. Your tap water needs to be treated. So that's always a good thing to remember, okay? So once a week, and always treat your tap water. It is, of course, cold water out the tap, and then you put your chemicals in. So this is just a brief guide on axolotls. Obviously, there's a lot more to it. Now, a big thing that people will feed, Preds, I'm going to show them your worms, okay? Is that okay? Are we okay to show you the worms? Yeah, I think she's all right. So in this cupboard is where I keep absolutely everything. So this is my goldfish food. So this is the one that I've had to buy because my normal one is out of stock. Normally I buy the AquaSafe. This is Tap Safe by Gold. It is relatively cheap. It still does the job, but it takes 5 caps for 1 8-litre bucket. So it does do the job, but it's just that you use more of it. Now in here is where I keep her food. She is on earthworms, and that is their staple diet. Now when they're younger, they have bloodworm. Well, they have baby brine shrimp from when they're a hatchling, then hatchling, as if it's a bearded dragon. They do have, I'll just show you these. They have baby brine shrimp when they're at the larval stage. They then move on to black worm, white worm, and things like bigger brine shrimp and daphnia and things like that. That's what they will move on to. This is just to keep it on, to keep the lid completely on. I will show you why in a second. And then, of course, they'll go on to bloodworm, and then at an age where they can fit it in their mouth, chopped up earthworm. So the sooner you can get them on earthworm, the better. With Preddie, she was always brought up on bloodworm, and then she went on to the chopped up earthworm, and now she's just an earthworm fiend. So in here is where I keep my earthworms. Now the way to set up a wormery is always good to have damp cardboard on the bottom. You want some soy, I can't even say the word, but CORIR, sorry. That core stuff, or core stuff. That's always good to have. Things for them to climb over, things to keep it damp and things like that. This is just kitchen roll, and all I've done is dampened it and then stripped it and put it on top. Now the thing is the container they were in before was a very big escaping thing, and they bred a lot. So we moved them into this one, which is roughly about a foot long. And we have got another container that we're looking to move them in. So this is, again, a very temporary thing. But when we move them into the big one, we're just waiting on the soil to come. So you cannot get the earthworms from your garden, okay? You can if you are 100% sure that there has been no chemicals used whatsoever. But if there has been and you're not sure, please do not get your earthworms out of the garden. One, it's a lot of work. And two, it's just not good for the axie, because whatever your earthworms eat, your axie then consumes as well when getting the earthworms, which is the same with every other food type, right? So you want to make sure that the earthworms are not from the garden. You can buy them. I buy mine from Yorkshire Worms Direct. I've always had a good supply off of them, and they're very, very cheap as well. Now, the best thing with earthworms is the fact that they always breed. Always, always breed. So I'll just take this off. I don't think we'll find any. So all the white stuff on top is just their feed, which I will show you in a minute as I make my own. I will show you in a minute. But this is just helping to keep the soil very damp. Now, what you want to do is touch the soil with the back of your hand. And if it's damp and cool to the touch, you're perfect. You're absolutely fine. If it's dry, you want to mist it a bit and shake it up a bit so that it actually gains some moisture, because obviously they're not here to survive in the dry lands. They like a bit of moisture as well. So this kitchen roll was to sort of gain that illusion that there is an end, because earthworms are the biggest ninjas of all time, right? They will escape absolutely everything, which is why I've had to put 2 weights, one being Colby's old water dish, on top of the pot, because they will escape, right? So underneath is some cardboard. This is damp again. This they will eat too. So obviously when they're in this situation, overfeeding can be a massive thing, but just try to just do a little sprinkle of things. Now, the earthworms, there's one. Underneath, there's lots. They've decided that they are staying underneath, but that's absolutely fine, because in this situation they can eat the cardboard, so they're not going to die from being underneath. They're still moist and things like that. Now, because they are such good escape artists, you do need to be really, really careful with the container that you use. Now, this literally is just a put on the top container, but if I was to just leave it like that, they will escape out of the sides. So what I have to do is put Colby's water dish on top and another container inside it to keep that weight down, so that they cannot find it that hard to get out. However, I can stick my hand under there, so they probably will still. So you just need to make sure that it's all contained in themselves. So that is what Preddie gets fed. They do have worm eggs, of course, and they do have a ring around them, which you would see if you got one out. Now, what that ring is that it's a band, and if it's quite prominent, they do have eggs inside. So they're the ones that I typically don't feed to Preddie, because obviously I want the eggs out of there for them to carry on breeding. For a very, 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 very rare time, I always keep a small bag of earthworm pellets at all times, purely because this would just be Preddie's backup food if anything was to go wrong, or if my earthworm culture was to just shut down, which can happen if you do not look after them properly, but it's just the same as everything else. And there's Pickle that's decided to get in the cupboard. So, Pickle, you're going to come out. Pickle, stop being so ignorant. Pickle. So ignorant. You're such an ignorant kitty. You are an ignorant kitty who decides to bite me all the time. So this is what I use for the earthworm feed. As you can see, I got it on the floor. So this is what I use for earthworm feed. Now, I typically make my own. It's literally grains. When the camera wants to focus, there you go. It's literally grains, and the earthworms really like it. It's a lot less easier to go mouldy as well. Whereas in the very beginning, when I started looking after axolotls, I was like, well, worms clearly would like some sort of, like fresh veg and things like that, it goes mouldy so quickly. You can feed them coffee grains, you can feed them tea bags and things like that, but it just goes off so quickly. And I found with the tea bags, they didn't actually like them, so I feed them on their grains, which I make myself, which is just easier as well. So I make my own worm food, and they love it, they thrive on it, and of course Preddie gets a good source of food. So I'm going to get up off the floor. I can't shut my cupboard because Pickle's decided to take spot in it. So that is typically, I think I covered everything. Basics of how to look after an axolotl. Preddie absolutely loves being on camera. She loves it. Look at her, she's beautiful. Look at her underbelly. She's so beautiful. So that is the basics of looking after an axolotl. Please do not keep your axolotls together if you don't know if they're male or female. It's never a good idea, and they can breed early, and it will cause them very, very early on health issues as well, which is not good for them. It can be very stressful for them, obviously being gravid too many times, as it can be for any other animal. They need to be given that break as well if they're at an age that they can breed. Okay, you need to give them the break. One big thing, which I can't believe that I actually forgot to mention, which is great, they cannot live with anything else. They cannot live with anything but their own species, okay? They cannot live with fish, they cannot live with goldfish, they cannot live with suckerfish or snails or anything like that, or crabs or frogs. They cannot do it, okay? They are literally a species-only tank. That is literally it. Snails will hurt them because they'll get off all their slime coat. Fish will pick at them. If they don't pick at them, the Axie will eat them. The Axie cannot digest bones, okay? So please do not do that. Waxworms, obviously, is another feeder that some people feed, but please do not feed them all the time because they are very fatty, and they are like feeding McDonald's to your axolotl every single day, 3 times a day, right? So they are very, very fatty and very unhealthy for them to have on a regular basis. I don't feed them to mine. If anything, I give Preddie some river shrimp. She'll have some live river shrimp in her cage. In her cage? That's not a cage. In her tank, that she'll run after and she'll eat as well, which is absolutely fine because they're easy to digest. Okay, a lot easier. They're not as easy as an earthworm, but they're easier to digest than anything with a hard exoskeleton. So again, anything with a hard exoskeleton, anything that is too hard for her, you cannot put in your tank, okay? So steer clear of the gravel, steer clear of putting other fish, animals, anything like that, apart from another axolotl, in the same tank as them. And steer clear of feeding them things like cat food. Yes, that's been a thing that people have fed them before. Vegetables, please do not feed them vegetables. They're not vegetarians. Yes, that's been something people have fed them before. Please steer clear of lamb heart, all the hearts, all the livers, things like that. People say that they can eat that. They cannot. It's not good for them at all. It's actually really bad for their liver as well. So if you stick to the earthworms, it's a very easy source of food, and it's so, so cheap, and they're so easy to look after. So that is this video wrapped up in one. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Please do hit that subscribe button if you want to learn more about axolotls, about these little guys. This is Ben. It's got Ben and Jerry. More about, you know, my guinea pigs and things like that. I will be doing dieting videos on what I feed every single one of my animals. You now know what I feed Preddie. You now know what I feed Ben and Jerry, which are the goldfish. So yeah, please do hit that subscribe button and like this video if you liked the video. Thank you so, so much for watching. And from me and Preddie, I wish you a good day.